Should you change your aperture based on the size of the subject that you are photographing? Maybe a horse compared to a snowy owl or a bald eagle? Should your aperture change? Understanding this is going to truly change the way you guys photograph and how your photograph comes out. Hey guys, this is Ejaz. I'm a fashion and a wildlife photographer. When I was first starting out with wildlife, I took a trip to North Carolina, a place called Duck. So I was there to photograph horses, and I went there with my camera, and there were a bunch of other photographers too. So early in the morning, we take a boat and we get to this island. And the gentleman who was conducting the tour, he says to everybody, okay, now since we are photographing horses and they are large, let's take our f-stop or the aperture to f8 and higher. And mind you, at this point, I was already established fashion photographer. And I'm saying to myself, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm speaking to myself. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. If I do that, how am I going to direct the eye of my audience to where I want them to see? You know, we got to do this because this guy, this photographer knows what he's talking about. He's been to this location so many times, which he had, and he's an awesome photographer. And I'm not criticizing anybody. It's just not the way I photograph. So for me, the job of a aperture or f-stop is to be able to help me as an artist guide my viewer's eye to the place where I want them to see. Now, if I go with an f8 or an f11, everything in my frame is going to be sharp. And if everything in my frame is going to be sharp, where is my audience looking at? One may argue and say to me, but if your subject is so far away, it really doesn't matter. The fall off is going to happen at such a place where it doesn't really matter. So you might as well get everything in there and be comfortable about the fact that your photographs are going to come out sharp. Well, I totally disagree. I normally photograph my subjects. My normal way of photographing is take the f-stop down to 1.8, 2.8 at the most. If I have a 400 lens or a bigger lens, I'll take it down to f4, maybe on a 600 f5.6. But that is it. I will not go past that. And the reason is because I only focus on the eye of the subject, whether it's a model in the studio or whether it is the animal in the wildlife. And the reason why I do that is because our eyes are the window to the world, right? To your soul, so to speak. That's what I want my audience to see. That is what I want my audience to focus on. That is where all the emotions are coming, whether it's a model or whether it's wildlife. It gets very, very, very challenging to take a 1.8 or a 2.8 f-stop and focus on a horse's eye or a Arctic wolf's eye or the bald eagle's eye when they're so damn far away. It's very, very challenging, number one. Number two, what happens to the image is it starts to slowly but surely blur, or should I say become less sharp. For me, the intention is that I only want them to see the eye. That's where my emotions are the most. So if that is where I need to direct my viewer's eye to, then that's what I'm going to do. And I do it by photographing with f1.8, because once you do 1.8 and if the subject is close, it starts to fade off. Us humans, we are drawn towards the darkest spot, the brightest spot, the sharpest spot, and that's how it goes. So when your eye is sharp, subconsciously, you may not see it, but subconsciously your eye is going to zoom right into the sharpest spot of the photograph. If that is where most of your emotion is, your audience is going to feel your photograph. Coming back to f-stop, The job of the f-stop or the aperture is to let in light, but at the same time, it also helps you blur things around where you have focused. So if you use the smallest number, 2.8, 1.8, f4, everything past that will start getting less sharp. So if everything is less sharp, guess where you're looking at? You're looking at the sharpest thing in your frame of your photograph, right? You're going to look at that. Your eyes are the window to your soul, and that's where your most emotions are. And f-stop and aperture helps you do that. But it's definitely not easy to drop your f-stop down to 1.8 or 2.8 and say, okay, you know what? That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it manually, and I'm going to chase the eye around and see where the focus. It's not easy, but I have to tell you, you can practice, and maybe in the next video I'm going to speak about that and show you guys what I did to better my skills to focus on a subject without using the camera's help. I hope this is helpful. Please subscribe, follow me, share it with people who really want to learn about photography. And I promise you, I will do everything to make it as simple as possible. Thank you.